Hello friends, very happy to be amidst all of you here today. I'm speaking on this topic, simplifying modern life, decoding symbolism and epics. I'm sure all of us being in the land of India have heard something about the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. But what I'm going to share with you today is how these books can really make a lot of difference in our lives if understood properly. So, the first thing I would like to share with you all is a concept of what stories are about. So, symbolism is a part of storytelling. I'm sure all of us in our childhood have heard of a lot of stories. And stories have such deep impact in human life. In fact, everything we know in life is simply stories. Every day when we pick up the newspaper and read, it's a group of stories. Every day when we talk to people, it's simply sharing stories. So practically in every aspect of life, stories have had the greatest impact. So when we talk about symbolism in the stories, we're talking about how these stories have been planned and written in such a way that through the story, there is this hidden symbolism or hidden message. I'm going to share with you all some symbolism that you can see in the Ramayana and something in the Mahabharata a little later. But essentially what I'm going to talk to you about is how each of these stories symbolically represent some problems and some dilemma, some aspect of our own lives. In fact, in the last 20 years that I've been studying and researching on the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, I have found that practically every problem of life and every aspect of life can be dealt with if you understand these stories and the symbolism behind these stories. In fact, modern life also is simply a group of stories. What is TEDx? The whole concept of TED is simply people coming and sharing their stories here on this platform. So, the Ramayana is a fantastic story, and through the story there is some very amazing enlightening concepts there. I call these stories as enlightening entertainment. It's not just entertaining, but it's also enlightening. The word Rama in the Ramayana means the one who gives happiness or pleasure to others. The opposite of the word Rama is the word Ravana in the Ramayana. The word Ravana means the one who makes others cry. These are the two extremes of people that we meet in life. There are some people, the moment you meet them, you start smiling. And then there are some people, the moment you meet them, you start crying. The word Dasharatha is the name of Ram's father, the king of Ayodhya. The word Dasharatha means the one whose chariot can go in 10 directions. The word Dasharatha also means the one whose 10 senses are under control. Somebody whose 10 senses are under control lives in the city known as Ayodhya. What is the meaning of the word Ayodhya? Yuddha means fight, and Ayuddha means a place where there is no fight. So which essentially means somebody whose 10 senses are under control, such a person lives in a city which is peaceful. That means somebody whose 10 senses are under control, his mind is peaceful. And in such a person's life, Ram is born. Which essentially means when somebody whose 10 senses are under control and whose mind is peaceful, in such a person's life, God is born. The word another word for Ravan in the Ramayana is Dashanana. Dashanana means the one who has 10 heads. But what does that symbolically represent? It represents somebody whose 10 senses are out of control. Dasharatha means somebody whose 10 senses are under control, and Dashanana means somebody whose senses are out of control. And where does Dashanana live? He lives in Lanka, a city where there is no peace. Because why is Lanka a place where there is no peace? Because everything there is stolen property. Mahabharata says there are 6 situations in life where you will not get sleep at night. And of course, if somebody has sleeping problem, you can probably check the Mahabharata and see if your situation falls in one of the 6. But one of the 6 things it says is, if you have stolen others' property, if you're hoarding others' property too much, you won't get sleep. So essentially, Dashanana means somebody whose tensions are out of control because everything in Lanka is stolen property, and naturally it's a place where there is no peace. In the Ramayana, there is a very interesting personality named Vali. I'm going to tell you symbolically what Vali represents, and it's very interesting for you all to know this. Vali has a particular strength. He wears a diamond necklace around his neck, and the power of that pendant is that whenever he comes in front of his opponent, half the strength of the opponent comes to him. That's the power of Vali. So essentially, anybody comes in front of Vali, he has the ability to derive half their strength. Vali represents temptations in life. I'm sure all of us have some temptation or the other. Just give me an example. Suppose you're a diabetic patient, and a diabetic patient naturally loves sweets, loves sugar, but he is not supposed to eat sugar. So if somebody is a diabetic patient and you bring in front of that person a gulab jamun, now the moment the gulab jamun comes in front of the diabetic person, his ability to say no, his ability to resist becomes half, and the gulab jamun becomes double powerful. That's what Vali is. That's what temptations are in life. In the Greek mythology, there is this story of Odysseus and the sirens. I'm just sharing something from the Greek mythology to just show how every story has symbolic understanding in life. Sirens represents temptations. So the story is that there is an island in the middle of an ocean where there are this group of dangerous personalities who are known as the sirens. They sing very beautifully, but when the sailors get attracted towards the island to hear their singing, then they get destroyed there. So this man, Odysseus, he was traveling and he wanted to desperately hear the song of the sirens, but at the same time, he didn't want to get caught by them. So what he did was, he told all his sailors to plug their ears very, very intensely so that they don't hear anything, but at the same time, he wanted to hear. So he made them tie him up to the mast, to a ship mast, and then they set a sail. He gave them instructions, no matter what I tell you, don't untie me. And then when they were passing through, he heard the voice of the sirens. He was desperately wanting to go to that island, but somehow he was tied up, so he couldn't go. And the sailors, their ears were plugged, so they couldn't hear him. So naturally, as a result, they passed through that island safe. This story again represents temptations. Whenever you come across temptations in life, how do you deal with them? Most people succumb to the temptations. But this man, Odysseus, he decided to tie himself to a mast. What does tying himself to the mast represent? Tying himself to the mast represents the only way to deal with temptations, not be affected by the temptations, is if you have tied yourself to a mission, tied yourself to some goal. Only when you have tied yourself intensely to a goal, no matter how many temptations come, you won't run there. Essentially, the reason I'm telling you all this is how symbolism through the stories can teach us a lot in life. I'm going to now divide the entire Ramayana into 3 cities. If you see the Ramayana in this way, it will make a lot of sense. The Ramayana essentially has 3 cities in which it's mostly situated. The city of Ayodhya, which is way up in the north. The city of Lanka, which is way down in the south. And in between, there is a city which is known as the city of Kishkinda. Symbolically, these three cities represent 3 different mindsets. The city of Ayodhya represents the mindset of culture. It's called Sanskriti. Very high character people with a lot of gratitude, people with a lot of self-growth as a focus. The city of Lanka is exactly opposite of the city of Ayodhya, which is known as Vikriti. Vikriti means people here have no culture. Rather, their only culture is about how to grow in terms of wealth and in terms of enjoyment. It's typical culture of eat, drink, and be merry. It's not about responsibilities. It's not about doing the right thing. It's not about honesty. It's not about character. It's about what gives me happiness. It's about exploitation. And in between is the city of Kishkinda, which is a city whose mindset is between that of Lanka and Ayodhya. The city of Kishkinda, the personalities who live there, what we call them is typically we say they are monkeys. But essentially the Ramayana calls them as Vanaras. The word Vanara is a question. Nara means human and Vanara means, are you human? The people in Kishkinda are, every day they have to ask themselves a question, am I human? That means the more I am bending towards the culture of Ayodhya, I am a human. The more I am bending towards the culture of Lanka, that much I am a monkey. And therefore, there are three monkeys in Kishkinda. The first monkey is Vali. Vali represents exactly the mindset of Lanka, like Ravan in his mindset. And Ravan and Vali were best friends. And the second type of personality in Kishkinda is Hanumanji. And the character and mindset of Hanumanji is almost like that of the Ayodhya Vasis. And the third is Sugriv. And this monkey represents people who are highly confused in life. Do I want to be like Ayodhya Vasis? Do I want to be like Lanka Vasis? In the morning time, they behave like Ayodhya Vasis. By the time it is night, they start behaving like Lanka Vasis. So these are people who are highly confused in nature, and therefore they have to keep asking themselves this question, Vanara. That means, am I human? It's not just about wearing a t-shirt being human. It's actually about being human. And that's what the culture of Kishkinda represents. I'm going to share with you something from the Mahabharata. It's a very interesting story about, these are the three cultures that we are talking about. I'm going to share a story from the Mahabharata, very interesting story about symbolism again, through one very fascinating episode from the Mahabharata. This is a story of Shishupal, one of the interesting characters in the Mahabharata. So Shishupal, when he was born, he had some extra limbs in his body. He had an extra hand, he had an extra leg, he had an extra eye. A sage happened to come to the house of Shishupal and he spoke to his mother. His mother was very aghast seeing a baby born with limbs like that. So the sage told her that the day a person comes into this boy's life and picks him up and these extra limbs fall off, you should know that person is going to kill this child. So Shishupal's mother was very disturbed. And interestingly, Krishna came to their house and picked up Shishupal, who was his cousin brother. As soon as Krishna picked up Shishupal, the extra limbs from his body fell off. And instantly the mother knew that Krishna is the one who's going to kill him. So the mother went and started begging forgiveness from Krishna, and she started telling him, please don't kill my child, spare him. Krishna said, don't worry, I will not touch him. And in fact, he said, I will give him 100 chances. At one go, if he makes 100 mistakes, if he insults me 100 times, till that 100th time, I'm not going to do anything. So his mother was very happy. Now tell me, if anybody has a grudge against somebody else, 100 chances is quite a lot at every opportunity. So Shishupal kept that in his mind. So every time he would come in front of Krishna, Shishupal hated Krishna from the core of his heart. Every time he came in front of Krishna, he started blasting Krishna like anything. Give him all kinds of bad words. But he always kept a counter. When it was 99, he would stop firing bad words. So one particular time when the Rajasuri Yajna was happening in the Mahabharata, and Krishna was given the position of being the first receiver of the Arghya, very highly respectable position, Shishupal lost it. His envy just broke open and he began to blast Krishna left, right, center, and he forgot to keep count. And the moment he finished 100 and he went on to the 101st insult, Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra came and severed his leg. The story represents something very interesting in life. Just like we have something known as a LOC, line of control between two countries, so that there is peace. There is something known as LOR, line of respect between relationships, between two people. Two people, when they are in a relationship together, there has to be a line of respect that one shouldn't cross. The moment you cross that line of respect, the relationship begins to shake. And at a certain point, the relationship completely gets destroyed. The disk of time severs the relationship. Every relationship has to be preserved judiciously within the line of respect. Finally, I would like to end with one very interesting story from the Mahabharata that summarizes the entire Mahabharata in essence. This is a story about letting go. This is a story about three people who were older generation and three people from the younger generation in the Mahabharata. And we find that the Mahabharata teaches us a very important theme. And the important theme is a theme known as letting go. All of us in life, at some point of time or the other, have to know to let go. The Mahabharata talks about three old people who were not ready to let go. The first is Bhishma. He was not ready to let go of his principles. The principle that he had taken a vow that he would never get married. He had taken a vow that he would protect the throne of Hastinapur no matter what happens. This principle, this vow that he had taken, became an obstacle throughout the Mahabharata. If we study the entire Mahabharata, if only Bhishma had not taken that vow, or if Bhishma had decided to break that vow, because at some point that vow had become actually meaningless. That vow was taken initially for his father's protection, or pleasure rather, but eventually that vow really became a disturbance for the whole country. But he was not ready to let go of his principle because he had decided, I will die, but I'll not break this principle of, following this vow. The second personality, the second old person in the Mahabharata was Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra was intensely behind position. He wanted to sit on the throne of Hastinapur. No matter what happened, he wanted to sit on that throne. He was not ready to let go of the throne, no matter what he was seeing ahead. In fact, his son Duryodhan was such a disturbance to society. Vyasa had actually told him that this boy is going to create a disturbance. He had told him when he was born. But somehow, Dhritarashtra was very strongly wanting to sit in that position of being the king. So no matter how many people gave him advice, he was not ready to let go. And the third person in the Mahabharata that was not ready to let go was Drona, the guru of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. And the reason he was not ready to let go was because of his attachment to his son. Attachment sometimes make us do things that we don't want to do. So these are three old people in the Mahabharata that were not ready to let go. One was not ready to let go of principles, one was not ready to let go of position, and the third was not ready to let go of attachments. In the Mahabharata, you find the exact opposite happening among the youngsters. The three younger generation, three people. Yudhishthir, he had a principle of never speaking a lie. But when time came, Krishna told him, you have to speak a lie now. He had a lifelong principle of speaking the truth. But he realized that for me to now give society a shape, for me to bring back dharma, I need to let go of my principle of not speaking a lie. He let go. In the same family, we find Parikshit, who was the grandson of Arjun, the son of Abhimanyu. At a certain point, he was a king of the land, he was a king of Hastinapur. He was given a curse by a 7-year-old boy that he would die in 7 days. Can you imagine a king of that position, that standard? He could have easily counteracted the curse because he had a great connection with Krishna. But he didn't. Rather than being attached to that position, he was ready to let go. And he detached himself, sat for 7 days and heard the Srimad Bhagavatam. And the third is the story of Genmaicha, the son of Parikshit. The father, Parikshit, was bitten by a snake. Genmaicha decided that I'm going to burn down every snake in the universe. And he created a yajna, and the yajna was attracting all the snakes into the fire. At that time, the sages came to Genmaicha and they told him, you don't have to exhibit so much cruelty for the sake of one person. One person's mistake, why are you dragging down all the snakes? And instantly Genmaicha decided to let go of his attachment to what he wanted to achieve. Three old people not ready to let go of attachments, and three young people ready to let go of attachments. This is what the Mahabharata teaches us. The Mahabharata teaches us it is not just important to let go of attachments, but it is important to let go of attachments at the right time. Bhishma eventually had to let go of that position, of that principle. Drona had to let go of that attachment, and Dhritarashtra had to let go of that position. But unfortunately, they let go at the wrong time. Therefore, the Mahabharata symbolically teaches us a lot of amazing concepts. So friends, I would like all of you all to explore the beautiful understanding of these stories that may seem to be just entertaining stories, but have a beautiful symbolism in it, within which we can find solutions to almost every problem we see in life. We don't really need to explore, we don't really need self-help books, so many that are there in the market to really understand and deal with every problem that we're facing. Ramayana and Mahabharata are the most powerful self-help books in the world. Let us study them and understand them and see how these stories, through the symbolism, can transform our life. Thank you very much.